Hello, my name is Oleg. This video not made for children. If you are a children, go away. Everybody else, you watch video now, okay? Goodbye. You know, I get asked a lot of questions. Like sometimes people ask me, what are you doing in my house? So I just grab as many shirts and jelly beans as I can and jump out the window. And sometimes people also ask me, Max, why do you make videos about Fallout 5 when Fallout 5 isn't going to come out for like 25 years? And for me, the answer is simple. I do it so that I, and anybody else who cares to, can use their
imagination. Imagination. It's about imagination.
All right, fine.
Your imagination is that thing that you build up when you're a child, only for them to smash it out of you by the time you're 21. Well, I decided that your imagination isn't just for kids anymore. It's also for jaded adults who are bored at work. So without further ado, let's get into 5 gameplay features that would be awesome in Fallout 5. But first, a quick word from this video's sponsor. Today's video was sponsored by cheese. Cheese. It's made from the moon. Get yours today. Alright, to start off with, I'm going to ask you a little question. Have you ever taken off your pants in Fallout? Go ahead, think about it.
Take off your pants, cowboy.
Have you ever full-on Porky Pigged it walking around the Fallout universe? No, you have not, because taking off just your pants in Fallout is completely impossible. Sure, everyone's taken their character's clothes off all at once to watch their character pee, but never have you taken off just your shirt or just your pants. And within that, the ability to swap between different items of clothing has never been something you can do. Do you like this shirt with those pants? Well, too fucking bad, Lone Wanderer. You don't get to choose what you want. You get to choose what Bethesda says you get to choose. In Fallout 5, I think we should be allowed to mix and match any article of clothing with any other article of clothing that we want. All pieces of clothing should be individualized. Shirts, pants, shoes, hats, and any accessories should all be separated into individual categories that allow the player to mix and match them to create a more customized look that suits their player and character. Wouldn't it be nice to finally be able to layer your clothes, or be able to match armor pieces with quote-unquote casual clothes? You can bet your sweet 10 milli it would be. I mean, Bethesda uses a game engine that lets them have like 10,000 goddamn tin cans sitting around.
He hates these cans!
But I don't get to pick what shoes I wear? So, let's get to it, Bethesda. Chop chop.
What are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
And as for that peeing naked thing, that was just a joke. I mean, obviously nobody wants to watch their character pee in Fallout, right? What? There's a mod for that? Oh, Jesus Christ, you guys, come on. Where do I download it again, though? It's for a friend. Have you ever taken a bunch of drugs in Fallout and thought, this is just like when I take a bunch of drugs in real life? Of course you haven't, because nobody has. Because as we all know, in real life, taking drugs is fun, and in Fallout, taking drugs is underwhelming.
You got skills.
I mean, sure, the game is telling you you're high, and it says that you should be having fun. But how can you really tell? How different do you really feel now that you've huffed a bunch of jet or popped a bunch of buff out than you did before? Well, in Fallout 5, I think it should be far more noticeable that you're gacked off a bunch of jet. And if you're anything like me, and I know I am, then this starts by adding different visual effects to each of the different chems in the game. Being on Psycho should look and feel different than being on Mentats, and that should look and feel different than being on Buffout. Maybe if you get too high or drunk, you start to lose your balance, and you can't walk straight. Maybe people respond to you differently too when you're walking around drunk or high on drugs. Perhaps they whisper about you as you go by. Or even hallucinations where you see people or creatures or just random things that aren't really there. Maybe you even have different dialogue options.
What are some golf shoes? Otherwise we'll never get out of this place alive.
Now, fancy visuals are all well and good, but I find myself asking, does this really feel realistic? Does taking drugs in real life really make you stronger, smarter, and more charismatic? Of course it does, but it's not the only thing it does. There are also some negative consequences too.
What's it do?
It turns all your bad feelings into good feelings. It's a nightmare.
For example, if you take one kind of drug over and over again in one day,
eventually you hit a point of diminishing returns on the sexiness.
What's the diminishing?
that is to say, if you keep taking this drug, you're going to need more of the drug in order to achieve the same level of effect or quote-unquote high for it to work. This translates, I think, into a gameplay mechanic that totally changes how people will take drugs in Fallout 5. But we shouldn't stop there.
You're crazy, man. You're crazy. I like you. But you're crazy.
Perhaps if you develop a habit of taking too many drugs at one time, eventually you'll black out and wake up somewhere else in the game world with all your stuff missing, and you have to go on a quest to go find it.
Hey, you. Finally awake.
And once you're addicted and don't have any more drugs, well, then it's time to go through horrible withdrawals, which in Fallout 4 was pretty mild compared to what it would be like in real life. Bright lights should be almost blinding, and in the dark, you should be almost blind, unable to see barely a few feet in front of your face. You would feel tired, and you should be slowed down, not like you're over-encumbered necessarily, but just slower, so that you're required to stop and rest more, and get more sleep. And when I say slower, I don't just mean physically, like walking slower, I also mean like the turning of the head, the pulling of the trigger, the response time to the game on a whole. Because going through withdrawals on drugs doesn't make you sharper, it makes you slower and crappier. And the negative effects of drugs should actually make you consider not wanting to do drugs, as opposed to it being something that you could actually literally forget about. Hey, look at that! I'm addicted to crack. I totally forgot about that. I think all this would be a lot more realistic. And we all know how realistic Fallout is. It's the most realistic game ever made. Do you have a Fallout 5 gameplay feature you'd like to see in the game? Go ahead and leave it in the comments down below. And if you're enjoying the video, go ahead and hit like and subscribe, and maybe share the video with a friend who also likes to do this kind of thing. It really helps support the channel. And if you don't like the video,
Don't leave! It's gonna get better! We just had a lull. We had a lull in the set. Don't fucking judge us.
now on to the next one. Fast travel. It's hard to imagine an open-world game without it. The purpose of fast travel is to eliminate tedious backtracking in large open-world games. Unfortunately, this has the unintended consequence of making game worlds that look huge feel small. And as any lady can tell you, it's not how it looks, it's how it feels. Giving the player the ability to teleport instantaneously from one point of the map to the other, like they're a member of the Star Trek Enterprise, sacrifices game immersion and diverts the focus of play away from exploring, which is what games like Fallout are all about. So, just don't fast travel then. What's so hard about that? You might say. To which I would reply, watch your tone, you snooty little shit! But also I might say, sometimes we need to fast travel. And that's where the question comes up to. How do we empower players to travel across the environment quickly when they need to, without sacrificing immersion and limiting exploration? What's the solution? In my opinion, we need look no further than Red Dead Redemption 2, a game that does fast travel, along with almost everything else, practically perfect. Instead of letting you beam across the map to a specific location like Fallout or Elder Scrolls, Red Dead Redemption 2 takes a more grounded approach. Using stagecoaches and train stations set at specific locations throughout the map, that allow the player to travel between specific points. This costs the player money, and the player can choose to ride along on the train or on the stagecoach and take in the scenery, or skip right there for extra money. This will get you to the general area that you're trying to get to, which means you'll still have to travel through the environment to get to where you're going. This keeps the game world feeling large and encourages exploration while also grounding the mechanic in the game world, increasing realism and immersion. Just go into Rockstar's game files, copy, paste, add a few Brahmin pulling some carts, a vertibird, and maybe a couple of these guys, and you're good to go. The create a character portion of any RPG or video game is perhaps the most important part. It is the first decisions the player makes in the game, and it sets the tone for how the player will play. It is the lens through which the player will view the world and will make every decision. So having a lot of variety in character creation is important, because as we all know, variety is the spice of life. That's why I have sex with a different kind of animal every single day.
What is your damage, little boy? You got a sick and twisted world perspective.
Now there's a lot that goes into any create a character section of an RPG, but for this section we're mostly going to be focused on the appearance of the character. But if you'd like me to do a video on a full create a character overhaul, what should be in Fallout 5's create a character video, go ahead and let me know in the comments down below if that's something you'd like to see. Now, Fallout 4 did an okay job of improving on what existed in Fallout 3. You had more control over the face and how it looked. You could adjust cheeks and eyes and foreheads, but we're still pretty far away from The Sims character creation and a lot closer to Madden's character creation than I would like to be. Do you want to play a white person or a black person? I would like to play a Hispanic person, please. Uh-huh. Do you want to play a white person or a black person? Alright, I'll play a black person. Can I have more than 2 hairstyles? Is bald a hairstyle? No. Then no.
I'm just playing.
Todd Howard.
You know I love you.
But of course there should be more than 2 hairstyles for black people. In fact, there should be more than 2 of anything for everybody. There should just be more settings and styles and choices that are more representative of the races that we have in the world, whether they're black or white or Latino or Asian or even indigenous. There should just be more options that are representative of people in the game world, because the people who are represented in the game world are also the people who are part of the world that we ourselves live in. It's almost like we could draw a parallel between the game and our own lives or something like that. Oh, it's gone. No, it's gone. Yeah, whatever. What were we saying? Oh yeah, killing people's fun. Now, if we look at the body customization options, the triangle body slider was woefully inadequate. It did not provide the nuanced options that more refined Fallout players were looking for. I'm thinking of a mashup between something like The Sims and Cyberpunk 2077. The Sims because of the number of options you have for modifying the character's body, and Cyberpunk 2077 for the level of detail that you're allowed to go into. So basically what I'm saying is, if I want to make a 4-foot-tall, 400-pound, half-black, half-Japanese person with big tits and a tiny penis, I want to be able to make it, goddammit. That's all I'm asking for.
Pretty please, with sugar on top.
In Fallout 4, it is implied that the settlers will help take care of the settlements. Well, in Fallout 5, what if managing your settlers was more like managing the vault dwellers from Fallout Shelter, and less like collecting a bunch of nameless hobos who sometimes sell you stuff? Mind blown. I talked about how to improve the settlers in my last Fallout 5 video, and about how they're a bunch of lazy fucks who need to do more work around the place. Link in the description. But that's more about settlement building. This time, I want to dive deeper into the NPCs. No, not like that. First of all, it's unimmersive as fuck to meet a new settler just for them to be called settler or resident. They should have actual names. This could be randomly generated and would be really easy to do. Todd! Settlers should have their own special stats that can be improved through training specific areas, and an overall level that goes up by doing things that help around the settlement, like standing guard, working the land, gathering supplies, or opening a store. The settlers' special stats will dictate what jobs they are best suited for around the settlement, just like in Fallout Shelter. If they have high strength, they're going to be better built for building things around the settlement. If you have higher endurance and agility, maybe they're better suited to go wander the wasteland and gather supplies. Do they have high charisma? Well, let's have them open up a store. This makes the settlers more dynamic and, in my opinion, more interesting. Remember that time a settler came into the settlement and they were super funny when you talked to them and they gave you a really cool quest with some cool background information about them? Of course you don't, because that's never happened. I mean, for fuck's sake, most of these people don't even have names. And it should happen. It's a missed opportunity for some fun random encounters. Give them names and a fucking personality, and some missions, maybe, and some backstory, and maybe some kick-ass choices and rewards related to them. Names, stats, missions that expand on the characters and the backstory, all this makes me feel more invested in the settlers, and thereby more invested in my settlements, and more invested in the game. But still, there is one more thing that the settlers should do that would really get me to be fully invested. They should die. They should all die. But seriously, right now none of your settlers can die when your settlement is being raided. Emergency at your settlement, come help. But if you don't go, there's no consequences. No one gets hurt. No one dies. Why even bother going to protect them in the first place if there's no consequences? And quick sidebar, these attacks should only happen when you're relatively close to a settlement. It sucks to be on the opposite end of the world, and then all of a sudden you magically get a message like your settlement is under attack. Like, how would you even know? And then how are you supposed to get back there in time before anything bad happens? Like, why would they take that long? But anyway. Now, a raid on your settlement shouldn't necessarily mean the death of your good neighbors. Perhaps they just get seriously injured and you need to collect supplies or they're going to die. Or maybe somebody would get kidnapped by some super mutants. And you have to decide whether it's worthwhile to go rescue them. Is this a character you care about? Somebody with a background story and that you've invested a bunch of training time in? Or is this just some random newbie with bad stats and no name? This actually might affect your decision about whether or not it's worthwhile to go get them or not, as opposed to thinking they're just replaceable. This all adds up to a deeper and more rewarding experience with the settlers and the settlement system on a whole. Because when it comes to settlers, we should never settle. Again, this is all assuming that Bethesda continues with the settlement system in Fallout 5, but hey, we can dream, right? Well, that's the video. Thank you for watching. Smash all the buttons, like, subscribe, etc. Watch another video if you want to, and take care of yourself. Peace.